Beautiful. Great. Okay. So everyone, Jacqueline Ross, University of California at Davis, and I will be talking a bit about Davis and also about the UC system as I go through. The University of California is the research branch of higher education for the state of California. What does that mean? It means we cause a lot of trouble, really. We ask why, how come it's always been done this way? How could we do it differently? How can I get involved? We have risk takers and troublemakers and inventors and push the envelopers, just pot stirrers, everybody. And it's a fun, wonderful environment to be in because people are really supportive of new ideas. They want to hear new technologies, find smarter ways to work, make life a little easier for people, solve problems. So we've got a lot going on at the UC schools. We have UC Davis as the northernmost campus, and then we kind of trot down the state through UC Berkeley to UC Santa Cruz, Santa Barbara, Irvine, Los Angeles, San Diego. Then we do a U-turn, come up to UC Riverside, and then not too far from Yosemite, we have the beautiful UC Merced campus. There is a 10th campus in San Francisco, and that's pretty much devoted to health sciences at the graduate and professional level. We are very influenced by our neighbors and our geography. Davis has a great calling card in that we are kind of in the center of everywhere in Northern California. We've got great leadership on all the campuses. We do try to be very welcoming and inclusive communities. I love our chancellor at Davis, Gary May, super involved. Talk about leaders, that really get down to it. He and his spouse, Lachelle May, are both scientists. And when students were moving in this week, they put on their sweats and everything and get out there and help families take boxes up to the dorm rooms and the whole bit. So we have a very active, involved campus from leadership through all of our students. The UC campuses do try to be involved with academic inquiry and everywhere that is important to humans and everywhere that's important to the earth, really. So we do get involved with health and environmental sciences and the arts. A lot of our courses are really practical. This is a shot of the coffee lab at UC Davis. And you may say, oh, coffee lab. Okay, so that's food science. It's actually chemical engineering. And it's such a great way to learn about chemical engineering because coffee is a familiar substance, an essential elixir for some of us. And so if you peer into the coffee lab, well, first of all, you're going to smell it before you see it because the aroma is incredible. But what's going on in there are all these stations with probably 40 to 50 coffee makers, different ways of filtering and making coffee and acidity tests and roast ratios and you name it. They are really getting down to the chemical building blocks of what's going on the earth through coffee. So it's a great class. And we have a lot of things like that in the UC system. It really brings education to life. It's just tremendous fun. A little closer to home for you, you may know the Bodega Bay Marine Lab. That's a UC facility under Davis's control, actually. Same with Lake Tahoe. We're all involved with what's going on in the state capitol. We do try to influence the state to be supportive of our students and supportive of the work that we do for the public good. All the UC schools are what are called land grant universities. So a large part of our work is to give back to the public, to give back to the world. You will have the chance to get your hands into all kinds of different areas. And, look around when you're choosing college campuses because you're kind of buying the neighborhood as well as the campus, right? So for us on our campus, our proximity to capital is great. We're not very far from the Napa Valley. That's important for our grape and winemaking students. Not far from Yosemite, not far from Fresno. Great airport with the Sacramento International Airport, and only about an hour and a half from the Bay Area. So we can really get around to a lot of different places. And that gives students a chance to try internships and other things because of the wide connections. All of the UC schools have a study abroad program together. So our combined family power, if you will, gives us partners in over 30 countries and over 133 institutions within those countries. So when things get safer for everybody to travel, we look forward to kicking this program up again. You can also study in the US. In either case, you plan about a year ahead for your trip abroad. You might go for the summer term exclusively, or you might choose a whole year. If there's language requirements, you'll know about that ahead of time, of course. And you'll also know how the courses you're going to be able to take will fit into your overall academic plan. It is a wonderful plan to be able to go abroad. A lot of students count themselves out because they think it's going to be more expensive. I was one of those students. I barely got to do education abroad because I got my head clear about what happens. And that is, if you're on financial aid, your money goes with you. And sometimes the cost of being a student abroad are actually less than they are stateside. So go talk to your folks in financial aid and also the Study Abroad Center and get your travel going. Absolutely amazing. And once that door opens for you, that knowledge never shuts. All of the UC schools are pretty well regarded, I would say, in the world. Several of us are in Forbes top 20. Davis is actually number 4 now for public universities and first across the country for sustainability, veterinary medicine, and agriculture. So we all have our own strengths and beauties, you know, like any kids in the same family. But one thing we do encourage is that you really lean into your studies. You ask questions, ask for whatever you need. Tell us the experiences you want to have happen. We usually can make those things come to life for you. So we want you to get out there and try things. We want there to be no regrets about, you know, not having enough time to look at stuff or not having the wherewithal to try a field that you really want to. So part of our job is to ignite your curiosity. Now, each of the UC campuses organizes their majors and our colleges in a different way. For Davis, we have 4 colleges. So your major is going to fall into one of these 4 colleges, or you could be exploratory in this college, or you could be exploratory or undeclared in letters and science. If you come into biological sciences or engineering, you're pretty much telling us you want to start there. But the UC campuses also allow you to change majors. So you may come in as a physics student, but find out that you are actually an incredible sculptor. So you could go that way. You may come in with political science and end up in engineering. Basically, we want you to taste things you're curious about. And if you have a proclivity towards those fields, then we want to give you more opportunity to try it out and see if that's a real thing for you, if you're going to change direction. And so it's great to be in a place that lets you spread your wings that way. All the campuses have different mascots, and some of us get a little booster nicknames. So Davis, for example, we're Mustangs, but we call ourselves the Aggies. And that goes back to over 100 years ago when we were part of UC Berkeley as the rural connection for education. Each UC campus is housed in a different town. I think Davis actually really won the top prize as far as partner cities go, because Davis is so welcoming of our students, just an incredible place to work and live. And the student spirit is everywhere, but the town is very practical and very welcoming. So there's pretty good relationships between town and gown, as we say, or between the city and the student body and the teachers and everybody else. We do want you to think about, you know, how you're going to go into the world of work, but also how you might help the world. So part of our job goes, again, back to that land grant obligation of providing student solutions that go way beyond the campus. So you may find yourself in just fascinating circumstances and involved with problems that you didn't even know existed when you first came to us. We do have students from all over the world. We have students from all over the US. We have students from all over California. There are a lot of differences. Part of our job is to exalt and cherish those. So if students trust us with sharing about your lives, then we want to make the most of that as far as learning and respect all the way across the board. So I was amazed by this. I certainly didn't expect it. I grew up in Lake County and really tiny school, really tiny town, and we didn't even talk about this stuff. So coming to campus and, you know, sitting up all night talking to new friends in the dorms and realizing how much we had in common and where we differed was just the start of an incredible education for me. So I hope that will be there for you as well. All the UC campuses have some kind of sports program. Davis's is very big. We're an NCAA D1 school, but we have D2 and D3 in the UC family. We all also have intramural sports, and we have some club sports. So we have everything that you may be used to seeing on ESPN, but we also have Quidditch at Davis, for example. We have water polo, we have ice hockey. So the campuses, depending on what kind of partnerships they build, have some pretty fascinating sports. And if you're an athlete, you don't need to quit that when you come to college. In fact, it's probably part of your overall wellness to be able to keep up some of that. All the campuses have an active club system. Students start clubs all the time. Some of them are pretty fascinating. Davis has over 800 of them, and a lot of ours extend to some of our benefits in the area, like having a lot of animals around, having a lot of local schools to provide services to, a lot of community service. So there's things that we can do. But all UC campuses, all of us work hard and play hard. And so we hope that you will enjoy that as part of your overall, fitness and happiness at campus, to get involved with some of those things. All the UC campuses also guarantee a residence hall or dormitory experience for our first-year students. None of us require it. In fact, the only time that you really see a residency requirement is if you're applying for or getting involved with a very specialized program. So at my campus, for example, the only residence requirement is for students coming into honors. So if you're going to do the honors program, they come into the honors dorm, because that's a residential experience with professors visiting and so forth. We also have a lot of transfer students that come to the UC system. And as mentioned by my colleague earlier, transfer is an amazing way to come into the four-year experience. So we have a lot of students do that, but there's only about 6 or 7 community colleges in the state of California that have residence halls. So some of our students come in and they're like, wow, I felt like I missed something. I'm like, hey, you don't need to miss anything. Come into our student apartments. So these are brand new. They are beautiful, they're amazing, and they're right on campus. So a lot of students will be moving into the transfer housing this week. All of our campuses try to feed our students well. Davis is full of foodies. We've got an active food culture seen through the trucks. We have beautiful food in the residence halls, lots of local producers, local farmers market twice a week. We're just really fortunate. And we also have a food program where our student farmers grow and give away organic produce every week. So you can show up with your tote bag and get some beautiful fresh stuff to keep healthy with your cooking on campus. And then if you happen to run a little short in every given week, we also have a pantry that you can come to and get a few items to kind of stretch out your food plan for the week. We are concerned with student health and wellness. Davis is pretty much the lead campus in the United States for sheltering and protecting the campus population as well as the city. So we've had free testing for our whole community for well over a year now. And that's been a big benefit in helping us monitor the environment in this COVID period. We do have lots of places on campus that we hope you will be at home at. And all campuses have different kind of support centers and so forth. None of them are exclusive to anybody. So hop around a bit, see what feels like home to you, and see about the niches and places you want to go to study and socialize. The UC campuses are very comprehensive. We provide a lot of career preparation for our students. We look closely at how well prepared our students are when they go out into the world. Not that money is everything, but it is a consideration for a lot of us. And here's a snapshot of what our Davis salaries look like for early careers and also mid-careers for our students. So they do pretty well, but this is not just reputation and grades alone, right? These are students taking internships and really putting in the legwork to understand what their careers might look like and what employers want. We do try to provide a very robust financial aid program for our students. You either apply for the free application for federal student aid, otherwise known as the FAFSA, or the California Dream Act, depending on your situation. UC offers what's called a Blue and Gold Opportunity Program, so that helps lower income families come up with some support for tuition and fees. And even for students whose families make a little bit more, Davis in particular has a grant program, and some of the other UCs do as well. So over half of our students graduate with zero debt, and we like that, and we want to increase that number. And part of the reason that's so important is because college is not cheap. Some of these costs are a little bit flexible, but some of them are pretty much immovable objects. So we can work with you to figure out how you're going to cover college costs. Very few people just write a check. Most of our students are on financial aid. And as a taxpayer, I feel really good about my money going towards your degree. So please apply for aid. Get that money to go to school. I'm going to skip on to freshman admission. Our requirements are almost identical to CSU and the same as our friends over in the CSUs. When we calculate your GPA, pardon me, we're going to do it off these courses only, sophomore and junior year only, okay? So that's what goes into your University of California grade point average. We ask our in-state students to meet a 3.0 or higher, and we ask our out-of-state and out-of-country friends to hit a 3.4. To be honest, most of our students are closer to the 4-point end than the 3-point end. But because we look at students holistically, there's a lot of things to consider. And these are the 13 factors that we are allowed to use. So we look at your grade point average. We look at the courses you've completed and the courses that you have planned. We look at your honors coursework. So what is that? That's stuff like advanced placement classes, UC approved honors classes, community college classes through Mendocino College or Santa Rosa JC or Napa or really anywhere. We look at to see how you fall out as far as preparation and strength of grade point average, particularly for Point Arena High School. And then we can also look at you in terms of all seniors statewide. We look at the quality of your senior year program of study. That means no slacking off in the senior year. Now, I do want to say sometimes some of us are working in our senior year, so we only have classes maybe in the morning or the afternoon. And if that's the case, please make a note about that in your application so we know that you're filling your time with something else that's very important to you. We look at what your high school has and what you maybe wish you are looking forward to coming in the next stage of life. We look at your performance and your academic subjects and see if there's anything that got you really excited, and then see if you did anything as far as a special project with that. If you are a late bloomer as far as grades and general excitement about learning, meaning you may have started off being, well, with a GPA that didn't quite reflect your ability, shall we say, but by your junior and senior year, you have really ramped up and you're serious about things now and your grades show it, we can look at those improvements. We're also interested in talents, achievements, and awards. This tends to be the area where a lot of students who've been involved with like scouting or 4-H or FFA, stuff like that. ROP will tell us about things that they picked up on the job, if you will, and with involvement with those activities. We look at programs like AVID, College Knowledge, summer camps that are like academically related. That might fit number 11. If life has just thrown a lot of stuff at you in the last year or two and you have persisted, this is a great thing to address to show how good and stubborn and fierce you can be in meeting challenge. And then finally, we like to have students from all over the place. We like to build that class. So sometimes your geographic location is important. Now, I mentioned earlier that we've got transfer students coming in. And transfer is not a difficult process, but you definitely want to work with your transfer center at the community colleges to figure out what colleges you may want to attend and what those schools required. There's no mystery to it really, but the transfer counselors and the transfer centers are absolutely the lifeline to us, and we depend on them hugely to get you well prepared if you'd like to go to community college first. Coming from high school, coming from community college, the choice is really yours. We don't have a preference. At my campus, we have what we consider just a perfect balance. We have 2 out of every 3 students coming to us from high school, and we have 1/3 of our student body coming in as juniors from community college, and they're very well prepared. So when you go to community college, your high school record kind of gets set to the side. You get a whole fresh start with your academics. You get good advising. You work in towards your major rather than most of your things being like the foundation. So I will take a few classes to meet my major requirements. You know, I'll take a couple of English classes. I'll take some math. I'll take some courses that are more breadth, and then I'll start working into my major. Something to know is that 6 of the UC campuses do kind of an early decision program that's called the Transfer Admission Guarantee. And you can go to that website or any of the campuses that participate and find out a little bit more about how that works, or you can email me later and I'll tell you about it. So the application for UC has been open since August. All of the campuses have websites like this, so you can really go to any of us or even just University of California apply, and you'll get taken to the application. Please get that application in the month of November. We do have some videos out there on YouTube and so forth to check out and get a little bit of a walkthrough on the application. The personal insight question is an opportunity for you to pick 4 different topics that are put in question form and tell us about, for example, your leadership, your ability to tackle challenge, the academic subjects that you've enjoyed the most, how you're creative, those kind of things. Easy, not difficult at all. You are all multi-talented. You've done a lot in your life. So kind of sit back and take stock of it and say, hey, you know what? They would not be able to tell this from my grades. Let me share with these people who I really am, what I'm interested in, what I've done in my community. So that's great for us. I have to say that's one of my favorite parts of the year, is sitting back with a big cup of coffee or tea and reading about what you're putting forward as your strengths and your lessons learned. It's an amazing privilege. I'm so thankful for that. You might want to take a shot of this. These are the application and admission timelines for the University of California. The big things, get that application in November, and then please apply for your financial aid. That's due by March 2nd. Believe me, you're just going to feel more relaxed if you get it done by December. You can use an estimate of your family taxes. You don't have to have it exact. Then we're working like crazy over at the UC campuses, reading and being impressed by you and all the things that you've done and have been through. And by mid-March, we will send out notifications about your admission. And hopefully you'll be sitting there at your kitchen table with a nice little stack of yeses. And then you get to be super picky and decide where you're going to go. So we will have some events to try to woo you and to get you to say yes to us. So please keep your eye on your email and check out the campuses that want you and the things that we're inviting you to. And then by May 1st, you will say yes or no to us, please. We need to hear, as painful as it may be, even if you're going to say no to us, because we might be able to open up a space for someone else who's also deserving, okay? And then believe it or not, folks, this time next year, my seniors, you will be sitting somewhere else and your life will change. And it's amazing. We really want to be on that journey with you. There's lots of places to go for information about all the campuses. So as you can see, we have tours and what we can do with our majors, and the whole UC family gets in on this. There's even specialized sites for parents and families. And all of us have our lines open, so you can call and talk to real people. You can also check out our events. We have some great ones coming up at Davis. We just did a time management one a couple of hours ago. I'll be doing one on health and wellness next week for any students that want to come into that. So I hope we might see some of you there. There's also this big thing going on the College Tour streaming series, which is available on Amazon and Apple TV and Roku if you have access to that stuff, or you can do the ucdavis.edu college tour. So come check those out with us. That's going to be a fun way to visit campuses, even if you can't travel everywhere. It might be fun for little brothers and sisters too, to get in on that. And then finally, if you're interested in Davis in particular, take a shot, if you will, or run your phone over that QR tag, and that will take you to our signups. And I will be happy to address some questions on chat if you want to ask any of those. But otherwise, this concludes the presentation, and I thank you very kindly for your attention this evening.
Thank you, Jacqueline.